You want it to be one way.
What?
You want it to be one way.
Man, I don't
You
know
want it
what
to be
you...
one
Man,
way.
stop. Stop saying that.
But it's the other way.
Yeah. It's your boy Rain. We back at it again. Back with another one. What up, though? What's poppin', YouTube? All my subscribers, salute. If you new to this, get true to this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that alert. Hit that bell icon so you can get all the content, all the alerts for the content I'm dropping. Really appreciate you guys. Let's get right to it. Fight night, fight night, fight night. The last show of Showtime. Showtime's last showing tonight. Pretty good showing, man. Three fights on the main card. We had Andre Berto versus what's my man's name again? Who he fought? It was a throwback fight. Guerrero. Berto versus Guerrero. Guerrero won the fight. Pretty lackluster at the end of the day. I think I agree with the decision. I think Guerrero took it. I'm not going to get too deep into it. There was a lot of grabbing, some rabbit shots to the back of the head. You know, old men doing what old men got to do who can't move as well and, you know, hang in there like they used to. So they got to cut the corners and get it done like they can. At the end of the day, they were able to hug it out, shake hands. Everybody was okay with it. I was okay with it. On to the next fight. Next fight was Chris Colbert versus Rayo Jose Valenzuela. That was a pretty good fight. If you guys aren't familiar with that fight, earlier this year, Rayo and Chris Colbert met, and Chris Colbert walked away with a very controversial decision, being that Rayo in the first round was able to knock him down, almost finish him in that first round, but Colbert was able to survive that, make it through the rest of the match, and somehow walked away with a decision. Me, myself, I'm not going to hold you. I did not think he deserved a decision. I thought Rayo won that match hands down, but, you know, when you take it and you put it in the hands of the judges, you get what you get. You can't complain, right? Well, you can complain, but it ain't going to change nothing. But what did happen was, even though Chris Colbert did say that he was going to go back to 130 pounds because he's kind of light in the ass, and he's not really competing that well in the 135-pound weight division, he wanted to go back to 130. But I guess a fight that he was trying to put together fell through, and he ended up coming back up, and, you know, they pretty much had to take the rematch. Everybody wanted to see him fight Rayo again. Rayo changed training camps. He actually went over to the BENAVIDEZ camp. You know, David Benavidez's father went over there with David Benavidez. What's David Benavidez? Jose Benavidez Sr., right? Changed the camp, left his father, right? And usually when stuff like that happens, you tend to like wonder how that's going to affect the fighter. Fighters don't really, you know, don't always do well going from trainer to trainer, but it seems like this one worked out for him. In all honesty, Rayo was able to really outbox. You know, when I saw this fight lined up, I said, okay, he's either going to knock out Chris Colbert or Chris Colbert is going to outbox him. Because I remember when B-Hop, if you guys don't remember, he was little B-Hop, right? Prime time. When he was out at 130, he was such a good boxer. And he is a good boxer, you know. A lot of movement hasn't been known for a lot of his power, so thought that's what he'd bring to this fight. He tried, but I think at the end of the day, he wasn't able to get that respect from Rayo. You know, I have my scorecard here. I only gave him one round, the second round, and really was a round that Rayo was taking off on, in my opinion. But Chris Colbert was starting to get that jab pumping and starting to try to, you know, maintain that distance. Rayo was just really looking for his shots. He was being patient. He sat him down in the first round, to be honest with you. The ropes held him up. And Rayo just really was taking his time. You could tell that coach, and you could really see the effects of Jose Benavidez Sr. and what he brought to the table. Rayo wasn't rushing it. Honestly, you could see the conditioning as well. Real good conditioning. In the last fight, Rayo kind of started to let off the gas, going from the middle to the end of the from the middle round to the last round. Really almost seemed like he was just like winded a little bit, dare I say. But in this match, energy was there. Like I said, I gave Chris Colbert the second round only. After that, I say 3 and 4 were in the air, but still I gave those to Rayo as well. But ultimately in the fifth round, Rayo really just started to separate and just really started to just, he really was outboxing Chris Colbert. Chris Colbert really was having a hard time staying off the ropes. Looks like his game plan, maybe he was trying to take off from where he thought he found success in the last fight, which was getting him winded. So it looks like he was kind of like trying to post up on the rope, kept the guard high, and was trying to let Rayo shoot his shots, hoping to win him out. But I think the shots were just too heavy. I mean, even through the block, you can see there was a couple times that he was buckling Chris. And in the sixth round, ultimately, and you could even see his coaches, Chris Colbert's coaches, were starting to yell at him at some point, saying you need to stay off those ropes, because they saw those shots were coming in. And great footwork also by Rayo, the way he was moving and catching him on angles and turning him. He really stepped it up in the boxing category. He really boxed well, but ultimately ended up catching him with a right hook, almost like a Superman punch, right? While Colbert was backing up into the ropes where they didn't want him to get backed up, and he got folded, man. Rolled him up real nice, and completely knocked him out, KO'd him. So congratulations to Rayo. He did call out Tank Davis at the end of that. I thought, at the end of the day, it was a title eliminator fight. So he did earn a number 1 spot. So, mandatory spot for Tank Davis's title. Between me, you, and God, that boy probably should stay away from Tank. But I mean, it is his right to call for it, and it'll probably be a payday. I don't think Tank is even thinking about him, so I don't see him fighting Tank next. Who he fights next, I don't know. He did well against Chris Colbert. Congratulations to him. Tonight is his night, and he can celebrate that. As far as fighting Tank, that'll be another conversation for another episode, right? That's how that one went. Next fight on the card, we had David Morrell, WBA regular champion, fighting against, I want to get it here, Senta Agbeko, fighter from out of Ghana. Really never heard this guy, I'm not gonna lie to you. Know nothing about him. I know his record was something like 28 fights, 22 knockouts, 2 losses, 1 loss by knockout. This off the top of the head, what I can remember from what BoxRec told me. So I understood that this guy had some power, and he was going to be trying to probably, get some respect and probably try to deliver some sort of stoppage. That looks like the kind of boxer he is. He looked like he was in good condition. David Morrell came out looking in great condition, very happy, holly jolly, had a Santa, had his Santa Claus hat on, or elf hat, whatever you want to call it. We know what David Morrell does. So round 1, David Morrell was really comfortable from the first round. I'd say in the first minute to a minute and a half of the first round, Agbeko was really frozen, because David Morrell was really just giving these looks. He was moving around, gave me a real Roy Jones kind of energy, the way he was moving around. And it looks like Agbeko was really trying to catch the rhythm, but having a hard time, because David Morrell was giving him so many different looks and also making him pay in certain ways where Agbeko couldn't really, afford to keep his hands, to let his hands go, because I think he was just a little nervous about what was coming and when it was coming. And I'm sure what David Morrell was sending to him had a lot of bad intentions on it. So that first round, he really was just, trying to figure it out. Towards the end of the round, he tried to exchange a little bit, but once again, frozen from the different looks, the way David Morrell came in there. I think David Morrell understood and realized that he had that edge on him. Agbeko probably was a little bit intimidated, and he took advantage of that on Agbeko. Round 2, Agbeko decides, I'm going out on my shield. He's going to exchange with him. He's trying to exchange with him. And David Morrell's more than happy to oblige the exchanges, right? So they're exchanging a little bit. Dave Morrell catches him with a very straight shot right down the middle. I believe it was a right hand, caught him, and just kind of stunned him a little bit. He started to back up a little bit. David Morrell follows him into the corner, begins to let off on hooks. A big right hook came all over the top and hit him right on the top of the head. and, you know, buckled him. He was laid up in the corner on the ropes where David Morrell just let out a couple of flurries and pretty much knocked him out standing. He was asleep standing. Just the only reason he didn't fall out was because the corner held him up, and David Morrell just, you know, convinced the referee that this match was over. This guy was out of there, even though he wasn't laying down on the ground. Pretty easy match for him. After that match, David Morrell pretty much calls out David Benavidez. I think we kind of all expected that. I mean, ultimately, the undisputed champion of the division, Canelo Alvarez, I think this week went into office with Al Heyman to discuss his fight in May. From what I understand, he's entertaining fights from either Terrence Crawford or, if not, Jaime Munguia. Who else was he saying? You know, all I know is it didn't sound like he was really talking about fighting David Benavidez, who would, in my opinion, should be who Canelo's fighting. But once again, that's for another video. So worst case scenario looks like it'll probably be David Benavidez and David Morrell in May. And we'll see how that works out. If David Benavidez doesn't make arrangements to go and move up and wait and fight Bivol. But we'll see how that turns out ultimately, depending on, I'm sure, what Canelo wants to do. We'll see what those two gentlemen are going to do. But right now, it looks like David Morrell has his eyes set on David Benavidez for next year. And going into the new year, happy. Got his family from Cuba. First time they got to see him fight, so he was in a great mood, and that's how that went. You guys, that's the breakdown. That's pretty much everything that happened on the fight. You know what? Let me give you guys a quick little breakdown as well of last night on the Zone. Let's see. We had Jake Paul with a choreographed, in my opinion, lay down. He must have paid that guy great, but he beat on I can't remember the guy's first name, but I know his last name is August. But knocked him out in the first round. The gentleman wasn't throwing any punches, out of shape, kept his guard low. Jake Paul pretty much hit him with a jab and an uppercut and put him to sleep. And that was pretty much it. You know, got his knockout. Whether he paid for it or he earned it, I don't know. Like I said, it looked weird to me. It is what it is. I think probably the fight of the night that people were probably paying attention to, which was also a lackluster fight, but was I think an upset, right? And that was between Shadasia Green and what's her name again? Oh my God, Francesca. I cannot remember her name right now off the top of my head, man. Oh my God, y'all know who I'm talking about. But she just basically smothered Shadasia Green. Shadasia didn't let her hands go. Looks like she was caught up in the moment and pretty much just lost to a decision just based on inactivity. And that's how that went. You know, and there's really nothing else to talk about. The fight was pretty lackluster and just really not that entertaining. Waiting on Shadasia Green to let her hands go and do what we've seen her do in other fights, and it just seems like the way that she was being smothered and, you know, held a lot in the dirty box that she wasn't ready for, and it just seems like she could never let her hands go. It seemed like she was really anticipating throwing power shots, and because of the way she was being smothered, she couldn't let the power shots go. And I don't know, she just wasn't, she was looking for the knockout. Clearly she wasn't concerned with the rounds so much, and that's what ended up catching up to her, because when it came down to decision, she had no rounds. She didn't have enough rounds underneath her belt, and she lost the fight. That's how that went. So that's what the breakdown's going to be. You guys comment, let me know what you think about the David Morrell fight. Should be fighting David Benavidez next, and if not David Benavidez, who else? Because it's not guaranteed that he's going to fight David Benavidez, and it sure doesn't look like he's going to fight Canelo Alvarez. So guys, tell me what you think about that. But outside of that, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and hit that alert button, that bell icon, so you can get those alerts when we drop this content. And on that note, and at this point, it's your boy Claymore Ring. This is ATP Combat Media, and we out.
They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate.